friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Marlise and this is BitKnits. Thank you so much for joining me in this Mystery Monday Makes video. This last week was challenging, not for the pattern, but for the events that occurred. Luckily, I completed our mystery make in one day, which was last Monday. I completed it same day I started it, so I didn't have to worry about it as other things were unfolding around us. But we'll talk about that in just a minute. Let's go back to last Monday where I spun the wheel to know what I would be making for that week. And we're back at the name picker to pick our next Mystery Monday make. I'm going to delete the fruit slice keychains, which means we have 3 patterns left in this series. Let's go ahead and spin the wheel to see what our next mystery make will be. The Starburst placemat. So I'm back to my cotton yarn, 4-weight cotton yarn. I'm trying to decide if I want to make a set of placemats, maybe have like the center portion be a variegated and then border it with some sort of solid color yarn, depending on what I have in my stash here. I'm not sure that this is going to be enough, and even the beach ball I don't think is going to be enough. I do have quite a bit of this. It's unbanded, but it is like a lily sugar and cream, and I've got another one here, partial, so that's an option. And I do have a bunch of this, which I absolutely love this colorway, so I might try to get at least one out of that. We'll see. I'm going to play around, see what else I've got that's cotton yarn, and pick a color and get started. As you saw, we picked the Jada and Stitches Sunburst placemat. Love this pattern, super easy. Most of her patterns I find are very, very good for beginners. She has tutorials that are super explanatory and she goes really slow. So if you are a new crocheter, check her channel out. Wonderful for beginners, and she has some great patterns on there as well. Before I show you how the final placemat looks, I know I got a little bit of footage of me making it, thank goodness, because that's about all I have in this video. Let's talk about what happened on Tuesday. So last Tuesday, I was working, and I'm fortunate enough that I can work from home on some days. So Tuesday was one of those days that I was sitting at my computer working as normal, and we started getting weather alerts on our phones, and they blare and they say, thunderstorm warning, tornado warning, those kinds of things. So my daughter, because we had just had some bad storms 2 weeks ago, came running downstairs. She might have already been downstairs, but she came down saying, should we get in the basement? I think there's a bad storm coming. She has her rabbit upstairs in her room, so she's got a little carrier next to the setup in her room, and so she already had thoughts of grabbing the rabbit and putting it in the carrier just in case we had to go down to the basement. It started getting this weird kind of green, gray, blue color outside, but it wasn't quite raining yet. It was a little bit windy, but nothing super scary. And then we got an alert that said critical, tornado, seek shelter, get in the basement, all that stuff. So I said, okay, maybe it's time. And my daughter, like I said, she had just gone through this 2 weeks ago. My husband and I were not home when that happened. And she was in charge of getting all the animals in the basement at that point. And there actually was a tornado that hit July 27th in our area. So this area has already been cleaning up from those tornadoes at the end of July. So here we are 2 weeks removed from those July 27th storms and tornado, and we've got more storms. Decide to go in the basement. I close my computer. I started doing that, and I look outside in our backyard. We have a huge window in the back, and the trees are just almost sideways. So I said, get in the basement. My daughter already had her rabbit in the carrier. She goes downstairs. I tell my husband to get downstairs. I told my son, who was sleeping, to get downstairs, and he's old enough. He can make his own choices. He is not scared of storms or tornadoes. I guess it's just him living in the Midwest. He's maybe used to this. I don't know. But the rest of us flew down into the basement, and we waited, lost power, waited some more. It was only about 10-15 minutes, and then my husband decided to come up, take a look around, and it was still just pouring rain. You could barely see outside, so we didn't really know what was going on. We waited a little bit longer. He came back down, and then we waited a little bit longer. Didn't hear the sirens anymore. Figured, okay, let's go check it out. And yeah, the entire street is just covered with trees just uprooted. Yet again, like I said, we had just gone through this 2 weeks earlier, and here we are going through it again. Trees on houses. We had so much rain that there was flooding everywhere. It was an absolute disaster. So we did not have power from Tuesday, about 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning, until we finally got it back Saturday evening, around 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening. So we were without power for about 5 days. If you live in the Midwest, you know that most houses have sump pumps. If you don't know what a sump pump is, let me try to explain it. I'm not quite sure myself, except that it's very annoying and stressful to have one. But I've heard that the alternative is bad because the water will build up outside and crack your foundation and stuff like that. A sump pump is a hole in your basement, inside your basement. It's just a round hole, and it fills with water that it brings in from outside, like I said, right around your foundation of your house. It brings that water inside, and then it pumps it back out further away from your house. That's my understanding. The problem is some pumps run on electricity. So when the power goes out, the water keeps coming in, and that water level will rise. And eventually, if you don't have a battery backup on your sump pump, your entire basement will be flooded. A few years ago, we had more storms, shocking, and we did not have that battery backup. So my husband and I spent 3 days with buckets of water going up and down the stairs, dumping water, trying to keep the water level low enough that it wouldn't seep out and overflow into the entire basement. Our basement is not finished. We've had water down there before. It's just a pain. Who wants water in their basement? Especially when it's, noticeable inches or a foot of water. This time we have a battery backup for our sump pump. And that lasted until Friday morning at 2 a.m. when I started hearing the beeping in the basement that is telling us that battery is low. So Friday afternoon, we went out to Menards, which is like it's like Home Depot or Lowe's. It's got all the building stuff and home improvement store kind of thing. We bought a generator. Funny enough, we were not the only ones in line for the generators. They must have just gotten a huge shipment in, so there was a bunch just stacked up right by the doors, so you could go in, grab one, and leave. And there was quite a few people doing that because we really didn't know when power was going to come back on. ComEd brought in trucks and people from all over the Midwest and I don't know how far out. We saw some Georgia license plates, Missouri, Tennessee, Kentucky, anywhere that they had some extra help, they brought it in, and there was ComEd utility trucks all over town, and they're still here. So if you hear any background noise, it is because they are still trying to get trees off power lines. I don't think that everybody in this area has power yet. Luckily, ours came on, but it was a very long week without the power and not really knowing if the basement was going to flood. We had to throw out all of our food in the refrigerator and the freezer and not really being able to get food because we couldn't keep it cold. So it was just a really long, exhausting week. So I am glad that I was able to start and finish this last Monday, right after I picked our pattern, so that I could actually have something to show you today. My plan was to make a bunch of these, like a set. I only made one. So let's finally take a look at this week's make. I used Lily Sugar and Cream, I believe. Again, this is in a cone that I have this yarn, or it's in the Mary Maxim like mystery cotton yarn pound of yarn that they have, and it doesn't have a yarn band or a label or anything. So I'm not really sure what the colorway is. I just know that I have a lot of it, and so this is what I used. I haven't blocked this or anything, but it came out really nice. Really happy with it. I would definitely make more of these. You basically just make an oval, and the only tough part, the complicated part, the part that you have to kind of read the pattern for, is knowing which stitch to put the increase in. So there's a few increases on every round on the corners, I'll call them corners, to get the nice increase and to still have it lay flat. You have to read the pattern to know where to put those increases in. I believe the pattern called for a smaller quarter size hook size that I don't have. I want to say maybe it was a 4.25. I'm not sure. Might have been a 4.75. I can't remember exactly, and I had no internet, no power for all last week, so I am severely not prepared today to talk about this pattern. But it is a free pattern. I will link all that down below, so check it out. I used a 5mm crochet hook for mine, and it still came out a little bit small. I was expecting a little bit bigger placemat, and I will put the measurements exactly. I don't have a ruler or anything sitting right here, but I will definitely measure it after I get off talking with you, and put that down below so you kind of get an idea how big, how wide this placemat turned out. Like I said, I used a 5mm, which was a little bit bigger of a hook than was recommended in the pattern, and it still came out kind of small. The only thing that I don't like about this, and it could just be how I did it, you can definitely see right there where my fingers are, that starting space where you have to put so many stitches into one chain and it just opens it up. And then on the other side that it doesn't have that. So for me, it could just be a tension thing. Maybe I just opened that stitch up a little bit too much. Could be the yarn that I used. Maybe, I don't know. I've had that issue in other patterns like this. It's not really a big deal. It's just noticeable for me. We have done one placemat for the week. It's been a long week. I'm ready to start this week, get something new, and let's crochet. I'm gonna head over to the computer right after this and pick our new Mystery Monday pattern. We're just 2 patterns away from finishing with the 14 free patterns, Summer Edition, and I can't believe it's already the end of these 14 weeks. Thanks again so much for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye.